I am the great tasting Nate, and also joining us today, the infamous Big White Angus.
Good afternoon, BlueBall review lovers and followers. Thank you for tuning in to our first video in many to come. Today's topic, we're going to talk about virtual reality, something you may have heard of. Definitely going to be a big year for them. We'll talk about that more later. But first, we're going to give you a quick overview of our recent trip to PAX East 2017.
We had a great time. It was obviously huge. It was bigger than what we expected. So many people, so many good games. We couldn't play them all, although we did try. Obviously all the big name games were full from the minute that they opened. But we did try to get in as much as we possibly could. And play as much as we possibly could.
Yeah, speaking of that, one good point about the big name games being full, Oculus VR. Wow, if you weren't getting there within 2 to 3 minutes, you were not getting into that line. You had to make reservations a day in advance. Luckily, we were there all 3 days. We didn't want to spend all the time waiting in line, so we wanted to play as many games as possible. Mass Effect, the new Gears of War, Halo Wars 2. There were so many big titles there. Be sure to check out our full reflection on that. Touched a lot of different aspects. So jumping right in, virtual reality. So in general, man has been obsessed with virtual reality the last 100 years, if not more, from flight simulators to conceptualizing, fantasizing about all these different VR and what VR could be from movies, games, films, all different types of things. Even those little binocular toys you played as a kid, you click the little button, slideshow comes across. Oh my God. So many different things. So this year, like I mentioned earlier, 2017 is looking to be like a huge year for VR. It's just looking to explode. There's all kinds of things happening in that world. So just to kind of jump into my personal experiences with VR, I'll try to keep it as PG as possible here, but there was a little video I saw on Facebook several months back. It was people enjoying an adult film. I know it's got to be careful here,
it's a sad world.
Yes, but that's really what kind of piqued my interest, unfortunately, and people were enjoying a adult virtual experience through. I believe it was Oculus, but was enjoying that. So that's kind of what piqued my interest. Angus, do you care to tell us what started your interest?
Sure. With me, it's obviously just the full immersion experience. Once you put on the goggles, it's puts you right in the middle of whatever you're experiencing at the time. It's a full visual and sensual overload to all of your senses, all 5 of your senses almost. They haven't quite got the smell part down yet. I'm hoping they do.
Yes, 2017.
So that's what kind of brings me into it. Is once you get into the VR world, you can be anything, you can do anything, and it definitely puts you in the middle of it to feel like you are that person.
Yeah, and to that point, with my experience earlier, you can be a little bigger than you actually are.
See, for me personally, that would take away from the experience, though. That would make me feel like that, that's not me.
Well, I mean, for me, it's always a step down. I mean, no matter what, you're always going to be shrinking down. But, yeah, everyone's got an opinion. So, anyway, just jumping right into things here. There's all kinds of VR tech out there. We've already touched on this earlier. Oculus, as I mentioned. We also have the HTC Vive, the PlayStation VR. We'll actually jump into that one a little more in depth as well.
The Google Cardboard for those of you on a budget. Like
yes.
myself.
Yes. And then, of course, as the Big White Angus, as mentioned, you have the cheaper knockoffs, such as the Samsung Gear VR, the Google Cardboard. We like to call that VR on a budget. And then at last, of course, you have the mixed realities as well, the ones such as the Microsoft HoloLens and stuff like that. But for this video, we're going to focus more on the virtual reality side of things. The HoloLens is getting into the augmented and mixed reality, but we're really going to focus on the VR side of things here. So just jumping right into the forerunner. So who really started this VR kickoff? That was Oculus. But in the last year or two, there's actually been a lot of their competitors to jump ahead of them. So, most mentioning HTC Vive, they've actually passed them up in sales this year. Many have kind of thought that with Oculus being the forerunner, they've kind of set on their technology. They're really starting to catch on to this new VR trend in the industry, and they're starting to capture on that. So,
the competition is good. Competition drives each company to do better and better. In the gaming industry, some of us would argue that the EA Sports Madden, with them not really having any true competition, has drowned out the game quite a bit. I believe it's hurt the game some. It's not as good as it was back in the day, whenever they had true competitors that would, like I say, really help drive them to add better and better features. And that's one good thing about VR, is that there's plenty of competition out there. Plenty of companies to drive the other companies to do better and better and outdo each other at every step.
Absolutely. So, as you all may have heard or read recently, Oculus was recently bought out by Facebook. So there's going to be a lot of money getting poured into that. So I'm pretty excited personally to see where Oculus goes with things, where the great mind of Mark Zuckerberg actually takes that company. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. But also, as a quick side note, Microsoft has announced that they're going to be making a VR headset. It will allow developers to write apps based on the Windows holographic platform. But first, as there always is, the devil. You will have to download the Windows Creators Update. Obviously, you can watch movies with this VR headset. You can do just about anything you could with Oculus. But it's going to be kind of a Windows specific thing. I'm looking forward to see how they're going to spin it. Is it going to be, maybe it gives a cheaper technology, maybe you have better VR experience? I don't know. I personally have stock in Microsoft, so I'm eager to see where they go with that and kind of how they spin it to make more money, as Microsoft has done in the past. Recently, TechCrunch actually published an article where they had an interview with Oculus's co-founder and head of their Rift technology, Nate Mitchell. That he basically said what's to come for Oculus in 2017. Mr. Mitchell had two huge announcements. One of those being they're going to cut prices by $100. I believe they've already done that. So that puts the Oculus at roughly about $600 US. And then also they said they're going to look at adding Mac support. One thing that a huge market out there right now is these Mac users. Unfortunately, there's not a good option for them. So Oculus said that this is something they want to do. They said this is something that they want to get into, but they just don't see it happening.
Well, I think it's something they need to do. Obviously, you want to cater to as many people as possible. That includes the Mac users out there. As time goes on, there seems to be more and more of those. So I think it's definitely an area that they need to explore.
Yeah, for sure. So just kind of sum things up there. Nate Mitchell actually told him, in my opinion, kind of gave him a maybe do it, don't really know. So it's kind of a sore spot for the Mac users right now. But just kind of bridging the gap here, let's just go ahead and talk about the issue of Mac support. You kind of touched on this just a little bit ago, but Macs and the Apples are actually their business is growing. What they do really well. They appeal to users that may not have that in-depth technology knowledge, and it's easy to use. Obviously, for all you Mac users out there, die-hard lovers, you're wanting to get this VR experience. You're wanting to just kind of immerse yourself, but there's not a good option out there. According to an article that Macworld published March of this year, there isn't really a viable option out there. And this is primarily due to the lack of a good Apple GPU, graphics processing unit, for those of you that may not know. And so it's kind of a limitation. It seems like a hardware limitation of Apple right now. So hopefully that they can work out, an agreement with a VR company, maybe get some sort of deal in place to where they can open that door up to that VR market that's emerging in 2017. Now, there are some good workarounds out there for these determined Mac users, but you have to get a really souped-up Apple device, a lot of good hardware. I even read that you had to dual boot Windows, so kind of defeats the purpose there. But for you die-hard determined Apple users, there isn't a couple options out there, but none of them really good. So we're actually eager to see where they go with that option, and and really in the Mac industry as well. Angus, do you have anything else to add to that topic?
Me personally, I have a few issues, before I can really see VR taken off to the masses. Obviously, one's the price point. Obviously it's new technology. It's something that's going to be pricey because it's just new.
Absolutely.
So my other problem with it is just the equipment itself. For the most part, right now most of it's kind of clunky. You've got the headset, you've got the cables. Until there's some really nice, seamless, cable-free, or at least to minimize the cables and all the gear required. I think it'll kind of have some issues, but obviously as technology grows, as technology improves, we should definitely see some improvements there. But that's kind of my main spot with it right now. Is that it's kind of clunky. It seems like a lot.
So the lack of a good GPU, as we just talked about for Mac devices, that leads us to a really good point. A lot of you people may have saved up money for a year, just got my taxes back. Hey, I bought an Oculus Rift. I got this awesome device. I hooked up to my PC, and it sucks. So that brings up a good limitation right now, or a setback, for lack of a better term, that the Angus actually hinted to, is that you really need to have good hardware as well. So you have to have a souped up gaming PC, which can cost you anywhere from $1,500 or $1,000 for a low end one, all the way up to $3,000. And if you can afford that gaming PC, you also have to get one that's VR ready, because there's obviously VR is a new technology. Not all of these awesome gaming PCs have that built in, so you may have to buy something added in, or just buy one that's pre-packaged, which is obviously going to cost you a lot more money. So I think my biggest issue right now is that you have to have a really souped up awesome gaming PC with a lot of good hardware in it. Then you got to go out and buy the VR technology, and really what I would want to see, the kind of the direction that virtual reality go, is obviously be more affordable, and create that, allow the middle class, as I would call them, but allow the people not making a ton of money every year to actually experience VR, because at that point you open up a new market. You create the demand, and you create that'll allow you the revenue stream to actually create and improve your technology and make it even better. Honestly, I want there to be more VR experiences.
Sure, I mean the experience is so great. As a lifelong gamer, the potential there is amazing. As much as there are dangers, which we'll get into later, the potential there is for such great experiences as a gamer, to be fully immersed inside the game that you love.
Yeah, definitely. And even when we went to our experiences and VR experiences at PAX, there's actually a picture of me in one of the shooters there. We were at the Aurora's booth, but
they needed a little help learning how to reload.
Yeah, definitely in more ways than one. But it's just it was there. Even though there was a lot of different maybe say games or different experiences, for lack of a better term, out there, they all kind of seem the same. So I'm kind of looking to add maybe a more variety of them. As you know, with any gaming industry, Xbox, PC, console, any of those, there's all kinds of different types of games out there, and that's what I really hope that they can add for VR as a whole. And then the next step would be for you to actually be able to move your human body. So when you move, your character moves. I believe they have that out now, kind of a human hamster wheel concept.
Almost, it's more like a pad. You kind of walk in place, but it is very interesting. It has some potential there as well.
Yeah. So the trackpad obviously would be the next step in that. I believe it's still kind of in a beta mode, and it's outrageously expensive. But I would like to see it go in that direction, so it becomes fully interactive. But the scariest things to me about VR going that far and taking that kind of final step, becoming fully immersive, is that you can kind of immerse yourself too much in the game.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many pitfalls and dangers to being that immersed, to feeling like you're in that world. We've seen it in Hollywood, in films, in books. One of my favorite books is called Ready Player One. It's by Ernest Cline, and it delves deeply into to how a society that's in an energy crisis, and they escape their world to go into this virtual world called Oasis, and it really explores the dangers in becoming too immersed, that people start living fully in the virtual world. They stop interacting, the social aspects stop in the real world, because it is such a fantasy, such a full-on escape.
You can be whatever you want.
Absolutely. You can be whatever you want, whoever you want. You don't have to worry about consequences, about dying. If you die in a virtual world, then you simply respawn.
Absolutely.
There are no dangers in going and trying things and experiencing things that you wouldn't normally do in today's society.
We're already definitely seeing some of that with current technology, such as Pokemon Go. I mean, people are just walking around, staring at their phones, not really interacting with the world around them. So
absolutely, just idiots.
Yeah.
Just pure idiots. I mean, there were stories when it first came out of people that would literally just walk off a cliff playing Pokemon Go.
Doesn't surprise me, especially with my generation, the younger generation. Doesn't surprise me.
There's no Pikachu worth falling off a cliff ever. There's not. There's not. But that takes a little bit different step. But I do see that as a first step, of people just doing nothing but staring at their phone at all times. They're so immersed into the digital world that a lot of times the real world just suffers. And we're already seeing that in the world of virtual reality, to where people are causing physical harms to themselves, other people around them, obviously objects in the room, just because they're not minding their surroundings. When you put the goggles and the headset on, and you're turning, you're moving your arms, your full body, you're rotating, you literally have no idea where you're at in the real world.
No, I actually recall a video on Facebook where a guy has the headset on and he's kind of looking down in the hole, and then he goes to look right down below it, and boom, he hits the floor.
Absolutely.
Actually pretty funny, but it does bring up a valid concern of people not minding their surroundings and possibly causing harm to themselves or others.
So many poor lamps have fallen victims to the world of VR that it's just not right.
No, it's not.
They deserve respect.
RESPECT.
Absolutely. Other than the typical side effects that comes along with long-term exposure to virtual reality, such as dizziness and nausea, you could also have some potential psychological effects that are a lot bigger and a lot more dangerous. My fear is that people can become so deep into the virtual worlds that they could potentially lose their grip on reality and start to confuse what's real and what's not. Yeah.
I mean, it's really not a far-fetched idea. Some people may think that we would look at that as an extreme or possibly go overboard, but if you really think about it at what's happening right now, as we mentioned earlier, with people being so immersed in their technology, with Facebook and everything else, I mean, it's really not that far-fetched to think that someone could become so immersed in VR that not only is there physical side effects, but there's also the mental side effects and psychological as well.
And obviously Hollywood has explored that in depth with tons of movies, Total Recall, instant classic, to where even he doesn't know what he did that was real and what he did.
So obviously there's some people out there that can't use VR, whether you're looking at the physical side effects or they have some psychological concerns as well. So is there any other option out there for these people? And some of our viewers may be experiencing this and have these questions as well. Luckily there are. I'm not going to dive too deep into them. We're just kind of going to quickly go over them. But you have augmented reality and mixed reality. So augmented reality is essentially just kind of like the Microsoft HoloLens, where you put on the glasses and it kind of gives a digital overlay, a digital world overlay on top of the real world, so kind of on top of reality. And this is something that is a little different than VR, because you can still be aware of the surroundings around you. They just kind of put maybe a digital image over top of it.
Sure, because with augmented reality, the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality is that with virtual reality, you are fully interacting with virtual objects. Augmented reality, you are seeing and interacting with real-world objects. Absolutely. So you are fully aware of your surroundings at all times.
Actually, in my industry, where we build software for big warehouses, we actually hear some of these warehouse managers talking about how Google Glass is going to develop a software where it will actually put the pick routes on these Google Glasses. So that's actually really, really interesting. We can already see that trying to kind of push into that industry. So And then there's also mixed reality. So just kind of touch on that. Obviously, it's going to mix augmented and virtual reality. To be honest, I'm not very knowledgeable in the clear difference between them. But from my research, what I've seen is mixed reality is essentially putting the augmented reality, so the digital image is kind of in a fixed position. So you may be able to say, here's a globe, I'm going to put that in the center of my room and I want to walk around it and look at the world.
Yeah, and I will say that amidst all the fears that I have of where virtual reality could take us as a human species, I'm optimistic about the benefits. The virtual reality and augmented reality can easily change the way that we learn. Obviously, it can make learning fun. You take a child who doesn't want to do his work, writing a paper or doing something. Virtual reality and augmented reality is so much more hands-on.
Yes.
That it can certainly improve the way that we learn, and the ways that we can learn.
Yeah, and to that point as well, I mean, you're looking now where technology is already making its way into the education and school systems. When I was in school, we had the old school desktop PCs, and that was it. Now I actually have little nephews and nieces that are coming home with tablets or laptops, and they have homework on that, and all their homework is actually on the internet. Old school pen and paper is kind of not becoming a thing anymore. So it's really not out of the picture to think that virtual reality or augmented reality or these kind of HoloLens and these smart glasses can make their way into that as well. So in general, I think that VR is and augmented reality. I don't think any one of those is going to take over the other. So I don't think VR will totally take over and make augmented reality and mixed reality legacy and outdated and not used. I think they each kind of have their own individual use and their own purpose. So I think that in the years to come, we're going to see all three of those become more popular in different industries and different uses. I definitely think VR is going to be kind of the next gaming trend. We actually saw a lot of that at PAX. There was a ton of just VR booths. Obviously, Oculus being the main one, but I'd say there was no. Yeah, unfortunately, there wasn't any adult experiences like I was looking for, kind of to bring it all full circle. But there was definitely a lot of booths there, and I just kind of see it being the wave of the future.
Excited for where it can take us. At the same time, I still have my concerns and my fears, my drawbacks. I hope it doesn't go where I hope it doesn't go. But I'm very excited for the opportunities that exist within the VR world.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same opinion. I'm really excited, especially from obviously a gaming perspective, to see that VR will become the next big thing, and give these users more, or give these gamers a more interactive and a more engaging experience. But I do have my concerns that people could become too immersed, or that the business side could kick in and say, let's just keep going more and more and more and more and more, and not really draw a moral line. So just to kind of recap things, VR is becoming huge. It looks to be a jam-packed 2017, and hopefully later in the year the VR market can become more open and more affordable to all users, and maybe the technology needed as well to actually run a good and simulate a good VR experience can go down. Guys and gals, thanks for watching our video and listening to our opinions. We would love to hear your opinions and thoughts as well.
Absolutely. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. We'll be posting more content. Subscribe to our YouTube page.
And until next time, stay satisfied.